Welcome to the Strategic Veteran, where we chart the course from service to civilian triumph. I'm Adam Peters, a veteran, entrepreneur, and your fellow navigator in the quest for a life of impact and fulfillment. My mission is simple: to empower you with the tools and stories that turn challenge into opportunity. Having walked the path from active duty to where I stand now, I understand the search for purpose that comes with hanging up the uniform. It's a path I've walked, with its trials, its tribulations, and its victories, and it's a journey we're on together. This podcast is more than just conversation. It's a beacon for those seeking to redefine our missions through entrepreneurship. It's about igniting the entrepreneurial spirit that lives within us, the spirit that compels us to create, lead, and make our mark on the world. Here we connect with veterans who have built businesses, sparked change, and found their purpose in the marketplace of ideas. They're not just surviving, they're thriving. They've transformed their service into startups, their experiences into enterprises, and they're proof that you can too. So whether you're scribbling business plans on napkins or stepping into the arena of innovation, remember, you're not alone. You're in good company. So let's explore these stories of transformation and take the first steps together on our path to purpose. Let's begin. Welcome back to the Strategic Veteran. I'm your host, Adam Peters, and today we have the privilege of speaking with Jonathan Sessa, a former Army Staff Sergeant with 7 years of service. Jonathan has faced more and overcome immense personal challenges, from battling PTSD and TBI, dealing with the loss of fellow soldiers, and struggling with the after effects of service. His story is not just one of survival, but of finding new purpose. Jonathan is channeling his passion for healing and community into the world of golf through Warrior Golf Academy. His mission is to create a supportive environment for veterans where they can find camaraderie, purpose, and healing. Today, Jonathan will share his story, his battles with mental health, and how he's using golf not only to heal himself, but to help his fellow veterans and find their way. Join us as we dive deep into Jonathan's journey, his struggles, and his incredible efforts to create a positive impact in the veteran community. Let's welcome the true embodiment of a strategic veteran, Jonathan Sessa. Jonathan, brother, welcome to the show, man.
Oh, well, thank you for that awesome introduction, Adam. I'm going to take that and use that as my elevator pitch from now on for
You
Warrior
should.
Golf Academy.
You should. You're not the
It
first
sounds like
person
you
that's
put
told me that.
yeah, man, you put a lot of work into that one. It sounds good. Sounds good. So thank you. Well, I want to appreciate it. One thing we don't ever get back is time. So thank you for sitting down, taking your time. To just listen to my story, have a conversation, and spread some awareness. That's really my main goal out of this. So I'll put it right here at the beginning. So just spread awareness, man. That's it. 22 veterans a day is 22 too many. I can't stress that hard enough. So if I can help just one of those statistics become less, that's the goal. And golf is what did it for me. So I'm going to continue to strive to push that forward for everybody else, and especially help my other brothers and sisters out there. So whatever I can do in the golf world to help that as a therapy. Of course, there's like equestrian therapy is fantastic. There's fishing therapy that's fantastic. There's so many veteran programs out there that I don't understand why golf isn't one. So
Dude,
we
there's
created
so many
that.
cool shit. There's so much cool shit out
Exactly.
there. Yeah,
That's
man.
it. And most of these, everything's free. Everything's free for veterans. I've attended so many free getaways, and it's just the camaraderie is, I think, the biggest thing that's missing after service. And when you get to meet, a few others that have been through the same thing, and you guys are all hanging out, it's a good time, man. It brings you back.
It's a walk down memory lane. And you're right, man. All these resources are free. You just have to stop being lazy and go fill out the fucking applications. Like, it's really
That's
not
it.
that hard. Just fill them the fuck out and wait.
That's it. That's
It's really
it.
all it takes. Dude, let's jump right in. Let's talk about where did you grow up and what inspired you to join the Army?
So I'm kind of, I guess you could say, like first generation going into the military. I moved around a lot as a child. I was born in Anaheim, and I floated around. Every 2 years I moved. My father was not in the military. Everyone thinks he was, but he was a salesman. He worked in car rental and then in pesticides. And as job opportunities come, we would just pick up and move. A lot of people don't like moving, and that's where I kind of learned to just be so outgoing. I think learning to move and live and have to make friends all over the place, it shows you a little bit of difference instead of just growing up in the same town with the same people. I think it kind of takes your blinders off a little bit. So every 2 years, I moved from when I was born. I lived in the whole South all the way across. Was born in California, and then my brother was born in Albuquerque, and then we went over, lived in Texas, lived in Georgia, lived in Florida, lived in Las Vegas again, and then came back to California. So like I was all over the South, and then I joined the military basically because I was in a tight spot. I always wanted to join the service. I was looking at the Marines while I was in high school, and
Everybody I talk to
yeah,
went to the Marines. It's the uniform, right?
I don't know what it was. It was my buddy was really big in the Marines, and his sister had joined, and I was just like, yeah, like gung ho for it. And I was looking at different positions then, and I know I was like mechanic on a helo, right? So he was like, "Don't worry about it, man. Like you'll be in like a bunker somewhere, like safe, and like just working on
Uh-huh.
the stuff, and then they'll go out and do whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, no worries." So then that just didn't pan out. It was in 2006 is when I graduated, so that was like in the height, and it was like went to college up in Pomona. Started going to college for mechanical engineering there at Cal Poly Pomona. Fantastic time up there. It was awesome. It was like right in the city, but it put me in a tough spot. It was my first time out there in the world, and I'm a talker, so I got out there and I was like hitting everybody up and doing a bunch of awesome things, and that's when drugs started coming in. So started getting involved, a lot of drinking, a lot of smoking then, and not heavy drugs, but drugs nonetheless, and that became more of a focus than school. I lived on campus, and ended up missing some classes there. And instead of walking to classes, I would, guys would say, "Oh, we're going to Hollywood for the day," and I would be like, "I'm gonna
Let's
rather go
go.
do
Yeah.
that than sit in my class," So I
Right.
would go to Hollywood. We had a bunch of new people, of course. So I would always go do the fun, and I wasn't committed to my path, right? And I think that's what really hurt me. So I moved back down south a little bit from Pomona, and I ended up living in like Anza Borrego. So I started working for a company called Easy Lube, did quick lube changes, and I worked my way up as a quick talker, and I started managing a store. I did really well there, uh, and then I had like nowhere else to go. I ended up moving to Anaheim as a store manager, but there was no upward. The next upward position would have been me having to be like a franchisee, right?
So
Working.
you reached the top relatively quick and was like, this is not for me.
Yeah, I mean, I was working. I was living in like Riverside, and I'd have to drive the 91. If you know LA, the 91 is awful, and I would drive the 91 into Anaheim and come back every day. And I'm talking rush hour traffic, so 6 hours a day in a car. Like
A commute both ways was 6 hours
yeah,
on top of
yeah,
working
three
eight
hours
to
in the
10 hours.
morning and
No,
and
thank you.
3 hours back. Yeah, and it was all commission jobs, so like whatever you could do. Uh, and if you take vacation, then your replacement is there, and it's just not good. So it was a lot of work, 6 days a week, and I was like, it's not the life for me. I just can't see myself grinding this out until I become a franchise owner in like a million years. So I was like, this isn't for me. I started looking back into the military again. Unfortunately, at that point, I'll rewind a little bit. I did have one DUI at that point, so it took me a while to get into the military. I had to go all the way to East LA. I had to find a recruiter that was like way behind and like low and like didn't, and because it took me a year worth of like paperwork and waivers and everything to get in. And
What
then
year
since I
was
had,
this?
this was 2009, I got in. So I started talking to the recruiters like 2007.
Yeah, you would have
So
been golden in '07 with that DUI because that's the height of the surge, right? And so the surge is wound
yeah.
down in 2009. That's why I was a little confused. Like, why are you having to do this runaround for a DUI when I know for a fact in like 2007 and 8, we were putting in shit bags, like dudes that had no business. I mean, and I have nothing against people with felony charges and shit like that, but we were putting in people with felony drug traffic you like that's how we ended up with meth problems in the barracks and cocaine
Yeah.
rings and all that shit. So it's kind of funny that you had to drive around to find a recruiter that's behind on his numbers, because that's such like a tale as old as time. Like, recruiters will do some shady shit just to make numbers. So good for you for finding the one.
Yeah, yeah. I had to go through a lot of work, man. And he did too. So, bless him for everything he did. He would call me. He would drive all the way out to my work, like 45 minutes to come and see me, just to like get something signed. You know what I mean? I was like, this guy's like going over and beyond, and I appreciated it. And I ended up enlisting, and because of my waivers and everything that I needed, I went field artillery. So I was like, that sounds awesome. I couldn't do medic or anything. I scored in like the 99 percentile in the ASVAB. I think my GT was up there. Like, so I had the option to do basically anything, but I was very limited by, my early, I guess you could say early substance abuse, because that's really what it is. That's a story old as time, especially with me. So, that was number one case, was already, that was a red flag. I should have been seeking help and things there. Because that was bad. I already had one, but I got in, went through the service, and I was 25 years old when I got in. So like basic training was kind of a joke. I just laughed it off because like when you're young, guys don't really know. But I was like, dude, I'm just gonna grab this mop and walk around, and nobody like this drill sergeant doesn't know me from another guy. Like I'm just gonna grab this mop and go like to the PX, and no one's gonna do anything. So I was the guy that was like always like candies, smokes, cigarette, like dip cans, energy drinks stashed in the bathroom behind the signs and stuff. Like I had it. So I was making a ton of money in there. It was awesome, making a ton of friends. Had no problem like being the workhorse. I would shine people's boots for cash. People were lazy, like you said. People are lazy, man.
Dude,
So
and that's the thing people don't talk about, right? Like, I made so much money making people's beds.
that's it. Those
Just
corners,
just
man. Those hospital corners. I got
dude,
it.
and I'm telling you, like, and it got to the point where like I was making money, and all I'd have to do is go tighten up their bunks, because they would just sleep with their poncho liner on top of the made bed, so that when you're getting
Yeah.
woken up at 4 a.m. by an angry drill sergeant, you don't have a whole lot to do. But that's just it, man. You can make money on fire guard shifts, shining boots, because
That's
we
it.
did shine boots back then. People would pay you to do their laundry just so they could get extra sleep. And I, like you, I went at 18. I was barely 18 when I went to basic training, but I still thought it was a joke, because I played sports my whole
Okay.
kind of growing up, right? And so
Yeah.
I had some coaches that were pretty much like drill sergeants anyway. And then like the physical aspect of it, I was kind of let down. I thought it was going to be harder.
Yeah, I didn't mind. I was like, you know what? Like, it's just that was the greatest thing to me, was like, if this dude just gets mad, he's just gonna make me do like a million push-ups, and I'm just gonna get like ripped anyway. Like, cool. Like, I'm 100% okay with that. Like, this is my job, man. And like, me and my buddy always thought that the rules of the military should be like, you should just be like the most brawlic dudes, right? Like, or
Yeah.
just be like scared of each other. So like, if I wanted your position, I could just like fight you for it, right? And like then I get it. Like that's the way it used to work in the world. You used to be like the toughest, baddest dude at the top, and like everyone just respected it that way. But nowadays, and that's kind of led me on my way out of military, was everything turned into paperwork. It got very, very hard to. I was in that time where I had a lot of the old school guys bringing me up, and I had that old school mentality, and then it started shifting, and it's just I pray to God that I got out without like any paperwork against me, right? I
Yeah.
heard so many stories about so many people about he said, she said things. And even if it's a lie, it's still on your record forever. And it's just crazy.
Dude,
Um,
and I resonate with that a lot, because I was medically retired in 15, and
mhm.
everything's so my whole career was every other year deployed, right? The op
Yeah.
tempo was crazy. 50 months of combat time is what I have, like out of control, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the writing was on the wall for me in 2015, because I retired in November of 2015. So I had that whole year of no deployment, largely being hurt, right, recovering, whatever. But I
Hmm.
saw guys, just like new privates would come in, and immediately opened 15-6 investigations on a senior because they had to do some
Oh,
push-ups or they got smoked. And I was like, oof, like this is tough, man, because I'm one of those old guys you're talking about that was bringing you up, right? Like I came in
yeah,
'03. So when you came in, I had already had 6 years and probably I was on my third deployment. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's experience there. And I always told people like towards, early 14 and 15, like I am not a leader that you want to follow now because I'm not a garrison soldier. I'm a combat soldier. And I don't know how to be a garrison soldier because you just talked about that shift, right? There was no fucking paperwork while we were deploying every other year. We didn't have time to write paperwork. Fuck, man. I can count on one hand the number of times I was actually held accountable for a counseling packet, and it was usually right before sending a Joe to the board. That was
yeah,
it. You know, like
yeah,
like we didn't do regular counselings. We did counselings when you fucked up and we wanted to give you an Article 15 or we had to promote you and send you to the board. Other than that, that shit didn't fucking matter.
yeah. Yeah, that's the way it should be. When we had problems with people, that's the ship I ran. You had a problem with somebody, we would go talk about it, right? Behind the shed or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they would hash it out and you'd be friends afterwards. Like that, it's it. You're same team and that's the way that it goes. But people have disagreements and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, but like you said, in the garrison, oh man, I did terrible there.
It was bad.
I
It
was
was so bad.
Yeah, because I'm about Top Gun, man. My crew was always tight. We would go out, we would train, we would do what we needed to make sure that we were the best, and we were. We were on target. We were the fastest to shoot, first out of the tube. Like we were on mark, and that's what I prided myself on. I would tell the colonels too when he'd come up, and I would be like, "Sir, like I'm sorry, my guys aren't good at like sweeping the line." But like when you need somebody to come and shoot a mission and be on target and like be the first out, like that's me
Right.
and those are my guys and that's what we excel at. Maybe I'm sorry my Humvee's like offline a little bit. I'll go get somebody else to fix that, like some guy, a paper pusher, you know what I mean? Like come fix my line. My dudes are like out here enjoying their time because we work and train so hard on the other aspects. And
Yeah.
it turned out being that people are like, well, we're trying to get these soldiers out and it's hard and there's not just build paperwork. They wanted paperwork stacks on everybody. So that way, if they did run into an issue, it wouldn't be a problem to just release. And I go, that's just the wrong way, man, especially when lower enlisted soldiers are looked at that way compared to like higher ups and then even the officers, man. There was so much stuff that just gets swept under the rug. And it's like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's
It's
all
maddening.
politics though, right?
It's
It's all
maddening.
politics. And that's why I tried to do what I could for my guys whenever I could. I would just send them off and that's all you can do. You can only control what's in your world. And when you think outside that, like you said, it's maddening. And
Yeah.
that's even in like the regular world today. Like, and
Yeah.
that's what like stressed me out into golf and getting into this was I worked at a couple of places and I was trying to implement things to help out, especially when it comes to like veterans programs and accessibility and disabled people. Cause like golf is pretty behind when it comes to other sports. Everything else is, I think, much more accessible and open and inclusive when it comes to things than golf is. So I was like, I'm going to bring that piece to it here. And it was like, so many people are not open to it. Um, and when
Yeah.
people are not open to it and you're not in that circle and you can't control it, then I was like, you know what? I'll just make my own circle, man. Like, I don't have to. Like, it's not the military. You're not like my boss. Like, I don't have to. Like, that's it. I'm good. I'll just go do my own thing. So you just start your own business and go that way. And um, I think that's the frustration. I think that's why so many veterans do start their own business too, is trying to work for somebody and then they're like, man, no, I just can't do it anymore because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't have to, right? Like I don't have to. So I'm just going to go do something different.
Yeah, man, we're gonna get into all that. You faced multiple traumatic experiences with PTSD, TBIs while you were in, right? And I'm curious, is there a particular moment that stands out during your service that really affected you and kind of let you know the toll that the military was taking on your mental health?
Yeah, most definitely. I like to use the analogy that it's kind of like water, like in a lake or the ocean hitting up into a rock, and it just takes time into that rock face, and it's not making anywhere, it's not visible, you can't see it, but over time it wears it down. And I think that's the same thing in the military. Like you can just turn it off, right? It's very, very easy. And I think that's what separates a lot of people from the military and the civilian side. And well, I guess law enforcement and anyone that's first responders too, that has to go through a lot of trauma, is you can just turn it off. um, and the biggest traumatic things for me were things that happened to my soldiers. I had a couple of soldiers that ended up committing suicide. You know, walking into a barracks room and seeing one of your soldiers hanging in the closet, like, is not a good. It's not a good look. That's never fun. And being able to tell a family that because your soldier took his own life, they're not going to get benefits, right? Because the military doesn't want to pay for that. Like that's wrong, man. That's so hard. And in the moment when you're doing it, it's not that big of an issue, but it all adds up. And then after service, I was like, man, this stuff is like, it's really getting to me. Yeah, I had a buddy that was in and decided to eat a bullet, right? And when he did that, but God bless, it didn't kill him. But having him hold his face together and everything afterwards is like,
Shit.
those things you don't, yeah, those things you don't forget. So having stuff like that, it makes you think like, what can I do now to help out? Because those traumatic events like that are the ones that, for the people that I cared about, like I said, it's
Yeah.
easy to turn it off, but those things come back to you and you're like, man, it was, I know the families that were affected, the people that were affected, um, and
When
it's so
it's
sad.
not just stuff like that, right? Like soldiers, your soldiers taking their own lives takes its toll. You know, the killing takes its toll. But for me, it was always seeing, our servicemen and women hurt and having to go clean that up and deal with that, right? On
Yeah.
top of that, you've got all these things, you particularly as a gun bunny, and we know more information now. Every time you send a round down range, you're creating micro TBIs with the concussion from, those big ass rounds, right? Even me as an infantry guy shooting my little M4 is enough
Hmm.
overpressure to create these micro TBIs. And you do that over hundreds of thousands of rounds that I shot in my career. That shit adds up, right? All the
Oh yeah.
flashbangs we threw, all the grenades we threw, any Bradley fucking gunnery tables that we did, later on to the striker tables, right? All of
Hmm.
that shit adds up and adds to those PTSDs and TBIs. And what happens when those things start to compound is then those events that you've witnessed become harder and harder to deal with, right? And they just get to
Hmm.
you. And I don't think we talk about this aspect of it enough because people don't want to talk about what the military is doing to us. We don't
Yeah.
want to think about it, right? Like we are the best military on the planet, and we're going to remain so. And this is how we do it. And don't ask questions. And it's like we could probably do this better. Like you could probably prevent a lot of this shit if you would put
100%.
put some systems in place. But so I'm curious, man. You only did 7 years. What led to the decision to get out for you?
Due to mostly because one, I had another DUI, and that was really rough. I had I'll go through that story and kind of what happened there, and it's probably very relatable to a lot of people. But so I was going through, and I was up in New York, stationed up there, Fort Drum, and I was away from my family at the time, and it was a very rough time I was going through. I found out when I was at in Washington, JBLM, that I can't have children, right? So I was in my first marriage, and it was it's like a chromosome thing where like the bottom sides and things switch, and it's just very, very rare. So even doing like in vitro stuff is like just not
Not
going to
going to happen
happen.
for you.
Yeah. So I was like, it took a while to like be okay with that because we had wanted children. And then we tried doing like foster care. And that was very tough. Between me being in the military, uh, my first wife with her trauma in the past, and then all the trauma from the children, man. Foster care is, I just felt so bad. We had a couple of boys for a little over a year, and we were in the process of adopting them and everything. And then all of a sudden, willy nilly, someone from the family stepped up and decided to take them, and then they were gone just like that. And we had given them a stable home. They were two brothers, 7 years old and 5 years old, and we were doing fantastic. They loved it and everything, but it just ended as quickly as they came into the home. And I was in New York and she was in Washington. We were waiting for that move. I had a home set up and everything like that. And it was a really, really rough time, right? So circumstances, and then, of course, I went through. I have a fractured neck. I was in a vehicle rollover, and I fractured my neck in two places. So I have a lot of things going on there. So I was trying to go through a lot of chiro. I saw a lot of specialists in Colorado there, and they said I would have to go through chiro like every week, like twice a week, and just for the rest of my life. And so I got off of that. I was on profile anyway for things, but it doesn't matter, right? Like I'm going to go out and run. I'm going to go ruck with my guys because I can't be like the profile, right? I'm not going to be the guy that's like making my guys do it. But at the same time, like it's putting myself in that, it's injuring myself, right? Like you don't look at it like that. But at the same time, you're like, man, like all these guys are out there doing, I can't be the guy that doesn't, especially if you're supposed to be the tip. Like
Yeah.
I gotta,
And that,
yeah, man. Like
and that's the
can't
culture
do
that
it.
we live in, right? Like
Yeah,
there's no time for you to take for you to get better so that you can lead better. It's just continue to hurt yourself and
exactly.
be that leader no matter what. And it's like, well, I kind of want a leader that exhibits, the ability to take care of themselves, because you're really not fit to fight by being out here broken, continuing to
Yeah,
break yourself.
yeah. And what the answer was pain med, right? So they just sent me to to pain med and rehab, and they just said, "All right, man, go for it." Like when I fractured my neck, I was in a neck brace for less than a week, and that was it. And they were like, "It's a miracle that you can walk." It was like right where the C in the cervical, and they were like, "Yeah, but that's it. Like, good luck. Here you go." And gave me some medicine and just keep going.
So did the
Um,
pills become a problem for you?
they did for a little while because I was on everything. And then, of course, it wasn't strong enough, right? I was like, oh, you always need something stronger. Just make all the pain of life go away, too, right? I had all my personal problems. So I was self medicating.
Pouring
Plus,
alcohol down your throat with them, right?
yeah, of course.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
my first, I'll let you, my first year in service was stationed in Korea. So that kind of sets up the whole picture of my service, right? Every single night, like my drill sergeant ended up being my smoke out in Korea, and we would just go out and party. He had a car then, he was single, and we would just go drink every night. Like that was just a regular, right? Um, and that's in Korea,
you
man.
and
It
you
was,
already had an affinity for alcohol before you joined, with the DUI before you joined, so you're already
yeah,
prone to that.
I was already primed.
And then coming into the army, like I knew that's where this was going, because if you've got a drinking problem when you get to the army, your drinking problem's only going to get exacerbated when you get in the army,
Hmm.
because that's the culture. I mean, it was the culture when I joined, when I went in '03 and I got to my unit 2 weeks to a month after they came home from the invasion. Uh, Life was hell during the day, and it was a lot of fun at night because we were always out drinking or always having some kind of barracks party with barbecue with
Oh
alcohol.
yeah.
It's just like that's the culture. It's you train hard, you drink hard, you get up hungover or drunk still, and do it all over again the next day.
Yeah. And those are the stories everyone laughs about, right? The guy who comes out with shaving cream on his face and his PT's on inside out or backwards, and you already know. You're like, oh man, like who didn't wake up in time?
Yeah, those
But
eight
like,
mile Monday morning runs where they're formation runs and you can
oh
smell the alcohol coming out of people's
yeah,
pores. And the whole objective is to get everybody in the platoon to puke, because
yeah,
either the
because you
smell
just
will get
throw
you if
up
you're
and then you
not the
just catch
drinker.
back up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
I always put
that's
it on someone else too. The commander would be running by and he's like, "Who is it?" And I'd be like, "I don't know. I smell it too." Like it's everybody,
it's
man. Like
literally all
yeah.
40 of us right now are fucking just, yeah, dude. So the pills, the broken neck, the drinking problems, right? Like this is shaping up to be a painful transition for you, huh?
That's it, man. I mean, it's all adding up, but of course, when you're living it and you're in it, like you just don't see it. So that was my unfortunate reality. And then, of course, I went through my divorce with my first wife. We had too much stuff going on there,
And all
with
of
the
this while
drinking
you're getting
then.
out?
So I wasn't getting out quite yet. I was still in Fort Drum, and then I got popped with a DUI, my second DUI in the military. Then because I was leaving a ball, so I was leaving the military ball. We all know how those go, right? And you drink a little bit of the grog, and that's it, man. But like I was hammered. I definitely deserved it, and um, but
That's
like
the thing that always tripped me up. Every single ball I went to, they would talk about DUIs and safety, but they never put anything in place
they
for
just say
every.
bye, and
Yeah,
everybody
dude.
leaves. Like
There's no like lockbox. Like, hey, put your keys here. You're not getting these back till Monday morning formation. There's no. I remember when I first came in at the third ID at least at 2-7, we had a battalion. It was like thousands of dollars at staff duty too. For anybody that's out in Savannah or Hinesville or whatever, call staff duty if you're a member of this battalion, and we will pay for the freaking cab. We'll just tell the cabbie to bring you here. Staff duty will pay the
that's
cabbie
awesome.
when you get here. We didn't have any of that in place for any of the balls. And I'm like, at any of the balls I ever went to,
Hmm.
and everybody is sloshed, man. So
And think
just
like it would be so easy just to like approach like mothers of drunk driving and like ask for a donation for that. You could be like,
right.
look, we're
Because
having
you
like,
don't
and
need much money. Back then, taxi
no,
cabs, I mean, I was
or get a
blessed enough.
military bus.
Right. And I was blessed enough to have some really good leaders when I was a young private who
Hmm.
part of my inspectable items in my wallet was a $50 bill. And that was specifically for taxi cab money when I was out drinking. They all knew we were going to underage drink. They didn't really give a shit. You're old enough to go to war. You're old enough to have a beer. We're not going to hammer you for underage drinking, but we will hammer you for a DUI. And back then they were kicking people out, no questions asked.
Hmm.
Like one DUI, you're gone. And so, I had some really awesome leaders. I think I still have that 50 in my wallet too. I never used it. but so when you decided to get out, did you have a plan? Were you thinking forward, or, what was the initial plan when you were getting out? Just to be done with the army?
I was getting out due to well, I had medical issues, and then like the commander there was trying to make an example and was like trying to force me out, and like I was on my man, I was in my board for 7 years. Like I was fast tracked, man. Like
Yeah,
I
you
was,
were cruising. When I read that, I was like,
yeah,
staff sergeant 7 years. I did it in 9, I think. But I also
yeah,
got in trouble once, so that set me back a
hmm,
year.
yeah, and like
And then I
that
was
would have been
hurt a lot
fine.
too. With deployments, I was hurt for another year. So,
Oh
uh,
wow, yeah.
fast tracking though, to particularly because you guys' points aren't low like the infantry points, are they? To get
Uh,
5 and 6, or maybe they were at the
there.
time.
Five was low, six was not, but points were easy for me to do because what I did with all my guys is I always just told them go do classes, right? I was like, I'm just gonna get you guys out. I was like, I can't get you out of work. You can't be in your barracks room playing video games, but what I can do is so you're not here just sitting around doing nothing when it's pointless. Is I set them up for success, man. I put them in all their classes. I made sure all my Joes had their college going while they were in. I was taking college classes while I was in. While I was even deployed, like whatever I could to try to get ahead and not use my GI Bill because I know how valuable that stuff is after. But you got to take advantage of the systems and the stuff they have in place while you can.
Yeah.
But that's what I tried to always get these guys to go do something else and push them away from like the mundane Monday motor pool work, and you know what I like that stuff was that was always a drag for me. I didn't like that. I
Dude,
liked
nobody likes Motor Pool Monday. Not even the mechanics. They fucking hate it. So let's talk about the transition, man. Like, what was your transition like, and what were some of the struggles that you faced while you were transitioning out? Because it's a monster, man. Like, particularly for somebody like you who climbed the ladder super fast, right? Like, you're not going to do that in the corporate world, and I don't know that you realized that at the time, but you're like, oh, my shit's hot while I'm in the army. I'll be okay when I get to the civilian world. Fuck. Yeah,
yeah.
right.
See, that's what
That's
I thought, but
that's not how it goes at all.
Um, I mean, it wasn't bad. I kind of knew, like I was going to have to work, but I was a worker, man. I had no problem. So I found a job up in, Williston, North Dakota. Work in the oil fields, man. I worked for a crane company that did crane inspections, hydraulic crane repairs, excavator repair, like whatever you need. We did customized stuff, and I have an engineering background, right? So I talked to the guy, and he was the owner there. He needed someone as a service writer, which I had mechanical inclinations from before being a store manager and sales, so I was good at that. And then he also needed somebody to do some CAD drawings and engineer up some like drawings and things that he needed. So we would take a lot of custom like crane stuff and we would have to go and manufacture it in like sheet metal and different parts to build different hydraulic systems for pumping oil, right? So this is the time when like oil was like hot up there. Williston
Oh,
was
I
popping.
remember that. I had
Um,
a roommate that would work in the oil fields. He'd come home with fucking stupid money every couple of
right?
weeks, and blow it all, and
So,
then disappear for another month, and then come back loaded to the gills with cash and blow it all over again. And
yeah, right up my alley, right?
yeah, right, yeah,
So I was
particularly
like,
as a drinker, right?
yeah, so I was like, you know what? I got out of the military, and then I was like, I'm gonna go up there because I already knew that area. My sister lived in North Dakota. My grandparents lived up there. My mom grew up there. Um, so Williston is kind of like catty corner from like Bismarck, where all my family is. So it's a few hours to get there, but like it's not bad. So I moved up there, and man, they provided housing paid for. They provided meals paid for. They provided everything paid for. Plus, I was making money hand over fist, plus overtime. You're working like 6 7 days a week, 14 straight sometimes, and then you get like 5 days off. Like you're making so much money. You just have to put in the work. It's hard work, man,
Yeah,
and
and
long
it's cold.
hours.
God, it's cold up there.
Yo, it's
So
cold.
cold. Ugh,
It's
no
cold.
thanks.
And that's the thing is a lot of those fluids we were working, like hydraulic fluid doesn't freeze. So it's below freezing point and like, oh, like you have to be very, very careful, a lot of that stuff. But I mean, it was good money. So I worked there for a year, right? And stacked up a whole bunch of money. I was good. Um, and then that's when the pandemic hit, right? Good
Here we
old
go.
COVID.
Yeah,
So they were like everyone who's non-essential and like this is but I was getting worn out anyway, right? A year of driving as hard as you can, just making all this. And like, I didn't take any breaks. I didn't take time off. I just was like on it. Because I was going through my divorce. Everything was just like terrible. And I was like, I just need to just focus on one thing. And I just died into work. So I had a bunch of money saved up anyway. And I went to my boss and I was like, look, with everything going on and like, it kind of slowing down. I was like, just lay me off. I'll go back to California and like enjoy some time with my family. My mom lives out there, my brother's out there, and that's where I'm from. So I'll go back out there. And so that's what we did. I was like, I'll take that hit on that position, and then I'll call you later when things start coming back and see what happens. But um, due to that, I was in California for a little while, just hanging out, and I came up with the idea that I'm going to use my GI Bill and go somewhere with my money and just live, right? I was like, man, that 6 days, all that work, I was like, I can't do that. I did that before the military, right? I was working as a store manager at Amco Transmissions, and I was working so much that like 6 days a week with all that driving. Then I got in the military and with all the time, and like I spent half of my time overseas, and not just deployment. I mean, one year of it was in Korea, and that was just a wash. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of time gone, right? That's a lot of time gone.
it makes you
And I
wonder
was,
where's the time for yourself, right? Like you're doing
yeah,
all of this for everybody else, but not taking any time for yourself.
yeah, I was depressed. I had, a lot of issue. I had survivor guilt, like why me? And then why couldn't I, it's always that why didn't I do more? Why didn't I stop it? What did I not do? So I was just getting myself in a bad spot, man. It was, down and down and down and deeper. And I was like looking at different places to go. Uh, and I decided on Costa Rica because my dad was already living and teaching English in Vietnam, and they closed the country down due to COVID, and he couldn't go back because he's 80 years old now. So at the time he was 70. 75, and he had some heart issues. So, uh, yeah, he had to come back to the United States, get a few stints and things put in, but they closed down Vietnam and he couldn't go back. So with him not being able to go back, I was like, hey, why don't you just come with me and we'll go down to like Costa Rica, because medical is good there. It's cheaper down there and we'll just go live. And he agreed to it. It was like, sure. We didn't spend a lot of time together before that. So it was a good chance to really spend some good time with my father. So I appreciated that and asked him, and he went with me. We just picked up everything. I sold a bunch of stuff. I just left my truck there in the driveway. I told the bank come pick it up. Like I was done, man. I didn't care at that point. I was like just washed my hands of everything, and I was like, what are you gonna do? You know, like I'm not making any money. You know, just come grab. And then I just left everything. Ended up being in Costa Rica for over 3 years. My first year there, I just started playing golf every single day. I went to school online, used my GI Bill, and then the first year I did get my TESOL and TEFL certification, so I could teach English, because I was like, if I always want a part-time job or something, you know, I can help out around here and just teach English. So that was something else to fall back on. And then, you know, I was looking for friends and other people out there, and I met Sandy, my wife now, and we met online. So that's crazy. One of those internet stories, right? But I was new in the country. I had no idea. I was like, look, I really set up a profile to like look for friends, and she was a dentist and she spoke English and she had a whole bunch of friends, and like it fit so perfectly. Like from the very first time that we met, it was just like, yeah, I knew, right?
So before
I
you went
just
to
knew.
Costa Rica, did you know Spanish?
A little bit. I grew up in California, but like I knew like a couple of things. But technology these days, like I put in the effort, man. I was like, I have to know, like if I'm gonna go to another country, I have to at least make the effort
Yeah.
to try to speak the language, or like I don't want to offend anybody, right? Like we've been I've been other places in the world, so I know how it goes. I have no problem. I tried learning Korean when I was in Korea. Oh, that was tough.
Tough. Yeah.
Korean is tough because like the letters aren't even the same. So you have to translate not only from letters to like picture, and like, oh, so it was rough.
Yeah.
Um,
I had the
but I
same
did.
problem when I tried to learn Russian because of the Cyrillic alphabet. Like that, it
Oh, I
just
can't.
threw me completely off. But the reason I asked that is because I'm on kind of this 5 year plan. I really want to go live in Latin America. I want to do it for different reasons. I want to be closer to plant medicine. I feel like the energy in Latin America is the vibe is just so much better. Costa Rica is on the list. El Salvador, Peru, Colombia. Even Argentina looking pretty good. But I'm on like a 110-day streak with Duolingo right now to learn Spanish. I want to be fluent in Spanish so that I can go down there and actually like not just be a gringo, you know what I mean, but be like a decent human who actually tried to learn your language. And I'm
Exactly.
not going to get it right, but at least you'll appreciate the effort that I make. So how
Yeah.
how was the experience living in Costa Rica? I'm fascinated by this stuff, man, because I've heard a lot of good things about Costa Rica. I heard it's not nearly as cheap as it was because it's not a best kept secret, like probably when you were down there. Over the last few years, there's been an influx of American veterans that go down there.
So it's been different. The Costa Rican dollar is going really down, so it's not a good time. Um, there right now. Everyone's really struggling because the Kelowna is value is dropped. Um, but when I was there, man, I really enjoyed it. Like they have all the amenities that you could want of living here if you want to go there, and have like nice food, nice restaurants, but you pay the same price that you would here. It's not cheap. But if you want for like $5, you can go get casado, and all that is some protein, rice, beans, a little bit of vegetables, a salad, but like it's a full plate. It's a full plate of food, and it's like $5. So you could definitely get something affordable. And everybody there, man, it was just so nice. It was incredible.
Yeah, did you
Like,
notice? So, like when I went to Peru, the one thing I noticed, and just being completely honest, I have nothing bad to say about Peru, but we consider them third world, right? They're a developing country. Their infrastructure is not on the same level that ours is. A lot of people don't have shit. But what I did notice is everybody's happy. Everybody's happy, and
Yeah, no
they
matter
don't
what.
put up with they don't put up with the bullshit that we put up with here. There's not homeless drug addicts in the street. They don't tolerate shit like that, and they have, like, I mean, they're close to the source of all of that shit, right? Like the cartel, and they just don't put up with that. They also were extremely friendly. Like, I didn't know any Spanish when I went there. We had in my cohort, we had a woman from LA that speaks fluent Spanish, so she would largely translate for us. But I made an effort with the minuscule amount of Spanish that I knew, and I didn't feel bad at all. Like, I didn't feel unsafe or anything like that trying to navigate my way around Tarapoto, Peru with not speaking any Spanish. Like, everybody was helpful. They were honest people, which really blew my mind, because I would give them, money for like the rickshaw ride or whatever, and they would try to give me change back, and I'm like, no, man, like, you earned way more than that, because first of all, you had to break the language barrier to figure out where the fuck I wanted to go. I couldn't believe it, how cheap, like, and how honest these people were, because I'm an ignorant tourist. You could have taken advantage of me and taken my dollar or whatever it was. Not that I would have cared, you know what I mean, because the money exchange rate is like 14 to 1 or something like that while I was there. But just the fact that they would give me change back, and I was like, man, I need to think about, like, making some changes in my life. And that really became apparent when I landed back in Miami, and I could feel the energy in the atmosphere just change. And I was like, I don't want to be here. This is gross. It feels disgusting. So I'm always fascinated by people who take the leap and go live overseas. I've got a buddy that's been in Colombia for 9 years. He's loving it. He's trying to convince me to come to Medellin,
I heard,
and
yeah,
now,
I heard it's fabulous out there too, and a lot less expensive. That's going to be the next place I definitely want to go. Even my wife, who grew up in Latin America, is like, Colombia is the place to go, man. So
yeah, yeah, dude, that's awesome. So, how did you deal with the transition and all of the? I mean, moving to Costa Rica probably added some woes to your issues of transition as well, or did it actually help you?
at that point, it was like a fresh slate. It gave me a chance to just like concentrate on myself. It would have been different if I went there with nothing, but like, I had saved up all this money for a year, right? I was doing pretty good. Um, I was still going through my VA claims, and trying to like get all that stuff settled. It was like 2.5 years before that. So it was like just about at the end of it. I had already done everything and I was just waiting for them to get it done. So I was waiting on all that back pay. So I was like, I'm going to be good. I can go out there and just like enjoy myself. And because of COVID, I found, it was awesome, man. I found, Cariari is a club there in Belen, and it was a full country club, family membership, and I paid $250 a month, and that included, like, classes, Olympic size swimming pool. They had tennis courts. They had full 18 of golf. So I played everyday golf with a golf cart and didn't have to pay anything. Um, and then my dad would go there and use the pool. They have a gym, a full workout. Like, it was awesome
So, like, a
because
one
COVID,
stop shop for not a
but it's a
lot of
whole
money a
country
month.
club.
Yeah,
Yeah. And for 250, it was a whole family. So I was like, that's like,
no
you can't,
brainer.
yeah, I can't beat it. It was like amazing. And the only reason I guess it was that price was due to COVID, but like, I was living there. So whatever, it didn't matter. And there was nobody on the golf course. So I got to play golf like whenever I wanted. I would get up in the morning, would go to the gym, go play golf there, and then go to the pool, and then go home and do my classes. Like, I got a routine that was healthy for me, and I used golf as like my therapy, my time to heal myself, man. Like,
I
That
love this. I
transition.
love this so much, man, because
Yeah.
to me, golf is such a frustrating sport. I don't know that for me, it wouldn't be healing because I compete with myself. I beat myself up. I know the mistakes that I'm making. I have conversations with myself when I line up to hit the ball, whatever. I always played my irons better than I could ever drive, but it's just a frustrating thing for me. And I'm curious, where does your love for golf come from? When did you first get introduced to golf, and what is it about golf that really just is healing for you? Because I personally don't understand. I'm 100% down. I would love to go play golf with you, but I'm not the guy that takes golf serious. I'm the guy that hits it out of bounds and I just drop it and don't count the stroke. I'm just there to hang out, have a good time with my friends, and be on a course for 4 hours with people that I love, genuinely love, right? So is that what it is for you, or do you actually like the sport itself? Because I don't like the fucking sport. I'm like, who wants to put this tiny bowl in this tiny little fucking cup 400 fucking yards away? This doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, I just think about like, I laugh it off because I think how messed up must these guys have been in Scotland to think of this game to hit a rock with a stick into a hole. Think about that, man. Like,
That's what I mean.
like,
Like, like,
so
no,
that's what I
dude,
think.
come
And
on.
I go, it's just a ridiculous game. And it's just out like, there's no way I'm going to be good at this by hitting this little thing with this little thing. So like, I don't even worry about it, man. I go out there because every day they mow the grass. It smells so great. It's quiet. It could be a full day, right? It could be packed on a schedule, and you're like, feel like there's not many people out there, right? You only have you and your buddies. You have all this space around you. I don't like being in that tight environment. I don't like feeling claustrophobic. I don't like feeling, in trapped or locked in or captivated. And I want to be there, just like I'm enjoying the outdoors. I like the grounding
See,
aspect of it. I like
and that's
being
just
there
it,
and
man. You're touching
just,
on all these things that make it so healing, right? First of all, it's
hmm.
outdoors. So you mentioned they cut the grass every day. That is one thing. I love fresh cut grass. It just
Oh,
does
it's
something to me.
beautiful.
It just resets my whole system. I'm also a weirdo and I enjoy mowing my lawn. I worked for almost a year mowing grass for a living. So, I've always enjoyed that, but that's like an essential like part that people miss out on. It's an outdoor activity, so you're forced to be in nature for a long period of time, and then like you said, like not feeling trapped, feeling free, and being able to take in all the sights and the sounds, and again being outdoors. It's the huge healing benefits there.
Yeah. And I have a lot of like ADHD too. So, I'm sure a lot of people do, but, I get distracted very easily. So I'm out there on the golf course and I don't mind if I hit my ball and it goes into the woods, man, like I just follow it, right? I'll just walk through the woods then. It's nice in here. And then I say to myself, well, it's easy for everybody else to like make a good shot from the middle of the short grass, right? But not everyone's going to make a good shot from next to this rock under that tree, right? Like,
Right, yeah, yeah.
so I don't know, man. You just got to look a cup is half full type thing. I just enjoy being outdoors. I enjoy being there and not, digging my own hole to sleep in, but being a part of the environment and just understanding like how small I am in this world. But when I played golf and I was able to like think about that, I got myself out of that darkness because that's not the place for me. That's not what's meant for us, right? Even all the people that we have lost, all the people and the trauma that everybody has gone through does not build us up to put us in a hole. That's not it. It builds you up to put you up at the top. Like you need to understand that all these are leading to somewhere, and use it to motivate you to do better. So I'm thinking I can't, I have to go out and live my life to the fullest because these other people can't now. And I owe it to them to do that, and instead of just being depressed and living my life into nothing. So, it was a huge shift for me. And that's when I decided that I wanted to use golf as my vehicle to kind of just help everybody. I'm not fantastic at it. I'm not a great golfer, but like everyone says, like, you don't have to be great at something, right? You just have to enjoy it. And that's why I started programs doing other things. Like you could be a caddy. You could just walk out there with your buddies and you don't have to be great at golf, but you can enjoy being around them and you can just hang out with them. You could say, look, it's this far, like hit this club, or look, I'm sloping down to the left. That way you're able to help out in a different regard. Um, but
So
like you
what
said, it's
gave
just being
you?
out there with
Yeah,
people that you love. And
yeah, man.
that means the
And
world, man.
so how did you come up with the foundation for Warrior Golf Academy? Just, obviously you said that it was so healing for you and you had made the decision that, you're going to use this as a modality for others, but there's a lot of things that go into that. You can't just one day wake up and say, I'm going to start this. So what was that process
No.
like for you? Like, how did you come to the conclusion, like, I can create a program for veterans and first responders to introduce them back to this healing, and show them the power of golf as a tool to heal. So how did you approach that? I don't have
Met my
sound.
wife.
There it goes. You're
What's up?
back.
Can you
You're
hear me?
good.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, sorry. I had a phone call coming in. There's people trying to get a hold of me. But let's see. So what really started it was I moved here to South Florida with my wife and our daughter now. She's 14 and going to be going into high school. So we were like, we need to give her the best opportunity too. And I was like, let's go to Florida and since we were getting married, we can get the citizenship and everything for her, and we can do 4 years here in South Florida. So that way we give the best opportunity to Dylan, our daughter, um, to be able to not only learn English, but then excel in high school and have the opportunity to choose whether she wants to go to college here, go back to Costa Rica and go to college. That will, or maybe somewhere else. Maybe she wants to go abroad. That's fine. Um, but give her the availability and the options, right? So with that being said, came here, South Florida, and I started working in the golf industry. I was like, I'm going to have to get a job. I was like, I want to do something I enjoy. I was going to do, I was actually going to work for like a train company and be a conductor because I know they'd make really good money. I could have done that. And then I had a bunch of interviews lined up and it was, um, but again, I didn't want to go down that route. I saw it and I caught myself this time. I was like, look, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of time away from the family and away from home. Like, don't do it. That's going to be a mistake. You did this before. So I was like, no. I started just working in the golf scene, got an assistant manager job at a local course and assistant pro. So I started working there. I got in the PGA program and started learning everything that I need to and practicing a lot. Like to be good at golf, to be good at it, you have to enjoy practicing, right? If you can go out and play and you don't have to be good at it and you can still enjoy it, but to really be good, you need to practice a
You got to
lot.
put the work in. Yeah, you got
You
to
have
put
to.
it's
It's
like
like
anything
anything, man.
else, right? Building a business, playing guitar, exercise. You have to put the work in to get good at it, right? You know, that's awesome, man. So let's talk about Warrior Golf Academy and what do you offer to veterans and what is your program like and how does that go? Let's walk us through that whole process.
Yeah. So I'll kind of tell you. While I was working in the golf scene, starting something. I ran a whole bunch of initiatives, right? And one of them was I get a lot of anxiety out there. So I got a whole bunch of different color balls and put them all in a training stick. So I have like red, yellow, green, white, uh, 10 different colors. And those are all used for people that come out to practice. And then each person gets their own and they can use their own color ball. Then you don't have to worry about saying, oh, sorry, man, like you're hitting my ball or you're picking mine up or you're in my way. People can recognize very easily because that gives me a lot of anxiety. And I felt having to go up and like approach somebody and be like, sorry, excuse me, like you're in my way. You didn't see me standing here and like hitting. Like, I, for me, it's hard to do that in like a very, very nice way because it agitates me and I'm already, I'm freaking out already, right? I get a lot of anxiety over that. So I imagine other people do. And I think that's a big turnoff when it comes to golf. People don't want to go out there, especially veterans who have done so much and feel like, you want to feel empowered. You don't want to go out there and be like, oh, I can't hit this little ball with this little stick. So what I do is I don't want people to feel bad. I offer one-on-one services when it comes to golf in any manner. So I wanted to make a one-stop shop. I wanted Warrior Golf Academy to be the one place that anybody can come to and learn all aspects of the game. The warrior aspect comes from all of us that are fighting through our traumas. I offer my services free to veterans because that's my heart and soul. But if anybody else wants to come through the programs, of course I offer them. I got to make a living, right? Um, but but for all my veteran brothers and sisters, of course I offer it free of charge because it was such a healing process. And I do lessons, so I use Sportsbox AI. They were graceful enough to give me their programming for free, and it's a virtual platform that'll analyze your swing using 3D technology and actually show you what you're doing, how much your chest is turning, how you need to do this and that, and blah blah. Gives you all the recommendations, so it's fabulous. It's awesome. One of the good things that AI is using for, not Skynet. So, so you
Right.
can, and it's awesome because we could just do it on a call like this and you could just upload your swing. I could like draw on it and show you like your angles and what you need to do, give you something to work on. And it makes it so much easier to just coach somebody. So I do offer one-on-one coaching. I offer caddy services. So maybe you're not good at playing, but you want to be involved in golf. So I can teach you how to caddy. And I do have employment opportunities through Troon and Caddy Master, who are pretty big names in the industry. So as soon as you go through my training, I can get our veterans hooked up with a club so that way they can start being a caddy. And what that entails is just either being a four caddy out in front of the group. And when they hit the ball, you just show them where the ball is. You put a little bit of dirt down when they make a mark. You clean the clubs and you just like rake the bunkers when it needs to be raked after they hit. But you're there as a concierge mostly, right? You're there to make the game more enjoyable. That's the caddy's role. Caddy's role is to make sure that the player has as much fun as possible. And I feel like all the stories that us veterans have, our commitment to doing that, our availability and our openness to just talk to anybody and be able to relate, and everyone has some really, really interesting stories. Plus, the people that you get to meet are really interesting. A lot of these people are, who knows what they might be doing, running different companies and stuff, and it could give you a lot of opportunities. So it opens a lot of doors just to get out there.
Yeah,
So
I
I
always
offer
thought
this.
being a caddy would be awesome. Just in the
That, yeah,
networking opportunity space, because then you can just focus on learning about whoever you're caddying for instead of playing the actual game and being. I mean, because we're all competitive, right? So you're not going to get to know that person if you're playing against them versus if you're carrying their clubs and cleaning them for them.
exactly. And most of the times now, there's not a lot of clubs that still do where you carry the bag. Most of the time, everyone's still taking a cart just for pace of play, and you just go up ahead. And when the ball comes, you just say your ball's here, you're here. And then when they're on the tee box and you get to talk to them, when you're on the green, you get to talk to them, and just it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy caddying for people and making sure that they have the best round and get to enjoy the course and their time there as much as possible. And when doing that, it gives you that sense of satisfaction too. And like I said, it helps you get out of the house, right? Anything to get veterans out of the house and into the community is such a win.
Yeah,
Um,
man. You
yeah,
mentioned earlier in our conversation that the game of golf hasn't changed much and it's not approachable for a lot of people. I actually resonate with that a lot because I've been kicked off of golf courses twice in my life. Not for anything that I've done, but for my appearance. Because I'm a big tattooed guy and I would show up wearing a polo just like you. And I was playing in places where it was hot and I looked up their policy and you can wear shorts. But because I have tattoos on my arms and legs, they wouldn't let me play. And I'm really curious to know, do you think there's a way to change that in the game of golf? Because that is a huge turnoff for people. I mean, I've not gone and played at certain courses because I know that that's what I'm going to face there. And it's like them as a business are turning away a paying customer. Them as a sport are turning away somebody who's interested or going to spend money on this sport, right? Like so what can be done and what are you doing to kind of change that perception of the game of golf, because I feel like golf is very much looked at as like a rich man's sport, or, you know, the pretentious asshole, or just this fucking you know, like you said, these high power corporate individuals. This is where business deals get done. I feel like that's kind of the aura around the sport, not, you know, granted, if you come to Florida, you're going to see a million people playing golf. There's a fucking golf course on every corner, right? But like the rest of America, it's not like that. I mean, there's a couple of states. Arizona's got a bunch of courses. I know a lot of really nice courses, but by and large, like golf isn't really palatable to the average human, because it's got this reputation as being a rich man's sport. The barrier to entry is fairly high because clubs are expensive. I don't know of many places where you can actually rent a set of clubs anymore. And obviously, if you want to be any good at the game of golf, renting clubs is not the way to go. You need your own set of clubs. I've learned that the hard way, by just getting hand-me-down clubs and clubs that don't fit me. I didn't even know fitting clubs was a real thing. Turns out my clubs are like 3 inches too short, so I need to go get them, you know, plus twos or whatever, you know, just shit like that. So like, what can we do, and what are you doing to change kind of that around the sport?
Yeah, so it's definitely changing a lot. I mean, live golf coming out is a whole nother thing that's bringing a lot of different attention into the sport, and I think any attention is good attention. So I'm a fan. I love it. There's a lot of politics in golf, right? Like you said, there's these old time clubs. Like there's still some all male clubs, and unfortunately, you're just not gonna change the way some of these clubs think and the way that they are. But I mean, I'm tatted up all over. I got everything. And I've been out some of these clubs that are $400,000 to be a member, and they have a wait list of 100, millionaires on it that can't even get out and play. And I've been invited. So I don't think it's the perception like that. People see the sport that way, and I'm trying to change it because, like you said, it's expensive to get into. Well, not really. I offer my services too with veterans. You could come up. I got a set of clubs here I picked up off of Facebook Marketplace for like $75, man. They're a little rusty and they need a little bit of work, but I got a shop that's willing to let me use all of their equipment, so we can go ahead and put some brand new grips on it. I can show you how to resurface the face. We can clean out the grooves. I even got some paint here and a buffer, and I'll show you how to repaint all those fills in there, and we can refill it. And then not only that, but I will take my $50 that somebody donated for the set of clubs and my time invested and our time in working on that together and bonding, and then I'll give you that set of clubs, right? And that
Dude, that sounds
sentimental
so
value.
awesome. I feel like
Yeah,
bringing those clubs back to life in and of itself would be a healing experience. I just hearing you talk about that, I'm thinking about my clubs, which are just on the other side of this wall right here that I haven't touched in probably 3 years. I'm like, man, my clubs could definitely benefit from some love like that. Like that would be
and that's
actually be
it.
therapeutic for me.
Yeah, and you spend the time, there's 14 clubs, you clean them up, you carve out the little numbers again, you make sure you take out that paint fill, you put in some new paint, and then I just use like clear nail polish over the top to put a nice clear coat over them. You use a little acetone to wipe it off, man, you make them look good, you buff them all up again, and I do that a lot of wedges, because wedges people go through a lot. So I do that with a lot of sets of clubs, and those are the sets of clubs that I build with the veteran, and I will give it to you then. So that way you have some sentimental value in there. I don't want to just give you a set of clubs that you're going to be like, and then you're going to sell them or something, right? But if you're like, man, even if you don't play anymore, you're going to be like, I put this time in, and these clubs I went through, and it was like you said, a healing process just to repair them. You will probably keep them or give them to somebody or pass it along. But that set of golf clubs will be used then in the game of golf to help somebody else. And it didn't cost anybody anything, right? It was all from donations and just a little bit of time. And we had a bonding experience over it. And now somebody else gets to enjoy the game of golf. So it's all a win win. That's why anything that comes to golf, repairing golf clubs, I do. And then also when it comes to just working on the golf course as like a greenskeeper. If you just want to go out there and be somebody that goes out at 4 a.m. and mow the grass because you like it, and you want to do that at your golf course twice a week, for 3 hours in the morning, Adam, I got you. Let me know. I can make a call. And that's what I'm doing to try to expand the game is not only am I involved with the PGA, excuse me, as a student. I'm also involved in the CMAA, which is the Club Masters Association of America. So they're all the people that run the clubs, the general managers. And I'm a student in there, so I'm learning that process. And then also for the Groundskeeper Association of America. So the greenskeeping, like superintendents, I'm a part of their program, the GCSAA, as a student as well. So I'm not a professional at anything, but I'm a student at all of it. And I want to learn as much as I can. So that way, when I offer these services to people, not only do I have the connections for it, but I can offer the whole inclusive. And I think that's what makes Warrior Golf Academy special is no matter what you want to do, I can help you with it when it comes to golf. So, like I said, from club repair to just volunteering, if you want to work inside of a pro shop, like I have the expertise and the connections to help you out in any way possible. I just need the opportunity to find out what it is that you want to do, what you like, and what is healing for you. And then, we can make that a reality.
I think this is amazing, man. I like that you are building the job placement aspect of it for people who come through your program that may fall in love with golf and be able to see themselves earning a living in one of those areas. Definitely might consider going to mow grass for a few hours twice a week just because I could build that into my schedule, and there's something therapeutic about it for me. I've always been fascinated by how they cut golf courses and all of that, and the attention to detail that goes into it, and all of that. I think it's just awesome, man. And I love what you're doing with the program, and I can't wait to see where your program goes as you continue to be a student. That's like the key piece of all of this is jack of all trades, master of none, always learning something new in your field. I think it's amazing, man. Dude, tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find out about Warrior Golf Academy and your program, and how they can get in touch with you if they want to go through your program.
Of course, of course. So, easiest way to get a hold of me is I have a LinkedIn. I just started some other social medias, but you can just search, Google search Warrior Golf Academy, and it'll pop up. Jonathan Sessa. PGA you can put in. It'll take you to my PGA coach profile. I'm listed on there. Warrior Golf Academy is on the PGA directory out of Boca Raton. You can email me, just my name here at the bottom, Jonathan dot Sessa at pga.com, or feel free and just call me up on my cell phone. It's 305-401-5671. Leave me a message if I don't answer, but I'm always available, even if it's just to talk, whatever I can do to help anybody out. That's what we're here for. That's what we're in the space for. And it's supposed to be a healing process for everybody. So there's no boring people in this world, Adam. If you're having a boring conversation with somebody, it must be you who's boring, right? Because the
That's it.
opposite
Look in the
person
mirror.
sitting,
Yep.
yeah, the person sitting across from you is a unique person with their own experiences, and every single person has something to learn from somebody else. Um, so with that, I mean, it's awesome. I appreciate anybody reaching out and any way that I can help anybody.
Yeah, man. And how often are you running different programs, or is it always open for new and aspiring golfers to come through?
Yeah, so it's always open. I currently teach myself. I teach all the caddies. I have an instructor that volunteers his time as well. That's going through the PGA program, and he's my director of instruction in golf, Ross McKendrick. And he goes through and he will do all the one-on-one coachings with everybody. It's fantastic, and we just kind of building it up from there. So let me know whatever people are interested in. If you send me an email, I can get you slotted. And I try to do one-on-ones once a month. So that way it's not rushed. We can take our time, go through it, and I can work with you personally on what it is that you want to accomplish and what you're looking for. And that way it's a low stress environment. I don't want anyone to feel rushed. I don't want anyone to work at somebody else's pace. This is supposed to be a healing process. It's not. And then once you go through it, then we have plenty of groups and other things that everyone can get connected into. If you just want to be a part of a golfing group, there's plenty of veteran golfing groups around as well that I'm linked up with here in the Palm Beach and Miami County areas. So please get a hold of me. Like I said, anything I can do to help out the community when it comes to golf, veterans, even just mental wellness in general.
I love it, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Jonathan Sessa from Warrior Golf Academy. Please don't forget to like, rate, review, subscribe, share, download this. Get it in front of 1 million veterans before I turn 40 on May 9th, 2025. Lofty goal, but there's 20 million of us in this country, so shouldn't be that hard to get, 2%. Like that's not a big ask. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, we will we'll leave you with Mr. Jonathan Sessa's episode, and we will see you for another awesome episode next week. Take care, everybody, and thank you, Jonathan, for being here, brother. That's our show, and I'm truly thankful you've joined us at The Strategic Veteran. If our conversation today sparked curiosity, or if you're ready to elevate your game, I'm here to help. Visit thestrategicveteran.com for exclusive show notes and resources, or to book a coaching session directly with me. Take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and share your review. Your support makes all the difference. For more insights and daily strategies, let's connect on LinkedIn and keep the conversation going. Remember, this isn't just a podcast, it's your strategic advantage in action. Until our next rendezvous, stay bold and continue the mission.